Hello everyone, today I will talk about creative thinking skills. Now let's talk about interpretation, which is a part of creative thinking. Interpretation means understanding what the information is telling you. You should ask yourself, do I understand the main points? Can I explain it clearly to others? If the answer is no, you may need to ask questions or do more research. In today's world, problems are becoming more complex. People cannot only use traditional thinking anymore. We need new ideas and better solutions. Creative thinking is very important in study, work, and daily life. So what is creative thinking? Creative thinking means thinking in a different way. It helps people create new and useful ideas. It is not only for art, it is also useful in solving daily problems. Creative thinking is important for many reasons. First, it helps us solve problems in a more effective way. Second, it encourages people to think independently and explore new ideas. Third, it helps students understand knowledge more deeply. In the workplace, creative thinking can improve performance and innovation. In daily life, it helps us deal with changes more easily. Also, it supports better decision-making in different situations. Creative thinking has existed for a long time, but it became more important in the 20th century. Today, methods like brainstorming are widely used. This topic usually includes definition, characteristics, process, techniques, applications.
Good morning, everyone. Today I will present part 2, with the characteristic of creative thinking. Creative thinking means using our mind to make new and useful ideas. It's an important skill because it helps people solve problems, improve old ways, and make things better. In daily life, school, and work, creative thinking us can help us face problems and changes. There are 5 main characteristics of creative thinking. They are open-mindedness, flexibility, innovation, risk-taking, and high imagination. Now I will explain each one by one. The first characteristic is open-mindedness. Open-mindedness means a person is willing to explore new ideas and different opinions. Creative thinkers do not only believe their own ideas, they also listen to others and think carefully before making a decision. Is important because new ideas can come from different people. For example, during a group discussion, an open-minded student listens to all members and put the best ideas together. It can make a better risk. Therefore, open-mindedness help people group and think in better way. The second characteristic is flexibility. Flexibility means ability to change thinking when a situation changes. Creative people do not stop when one idea does not work. They quietly look for another way. This skill is useful because life and work often have a certain problem. For example, if students' study plan does not work, the student can change the way and try to a new sketch. A flexible thinker can adapt faster and solve problems better. Because of this flexibility is a very useful plant and creative thinking. The second characteristic is innovation. Innovation means creating something new or making something old better. Creative thinkers often think in different ways. They may have ideas that all others never thought about. Innovation is important in business, technology, and education. The first characteristic is risk-taking. Risk-taking means being brave to try something new, even if failure may happen. Creative people understand that failure is part of learning. For example, many business owners take risks to introduce new products without risk-taking. People may stay their comfort zone and no progress will happen. The fifth characteristic is high imagination. Imagination means creating new pictures, ideas, or plans in the mind. It helps people think beyond the present situation. Writers, designers, and inventors using imagination to create new things. For example, before making a new product, a designer first imagines how it would look and work. In conclusion, its 5 characteristics of creative thinking are open-mindedness, flexibility, innovation, skill talking, and imagination. Those qualities help people solve problems, create new ideas, and do well in the changing world. Therefore, everyone would develop creative thinking skills. Thank you, everyone.
Good evening, everyone. Today I will be explaining the creative thinking process. When we hear the word creativity, many people imagine something sudden, like a flash of inspiration. However, in reality, creative thinking is usually not random. It is a process that develops step by step, especially when we are trying to solve real-life problems. By understanding this process, we can actually improve the way we think and come up with better and more practical solutions in our daily lives. The first step is to identify the problem clearly. This step may sound simple, but it is actually one of the most important parts. Many people fail to solve problems not because they lack ideas, but because they misunderstand the problem itself. For example, a student might feel stressed and said, "I have too much work," but after thinking more carefully, the real issue may be poor time management or a lack of planning. So, by identifying the real issue, we can avoid wasting time on wrong solutions and focus on what truly matters. After identifying the problem, the next step is to gather information and understand it more deeply. At this stage, we do not rush into solutions. Instead, we explore the situation by reading, observing, or discussing with others. For instance, the student might look into different study techniques or ask friends how they manage their time. By doing this, they gain new perspectives and ideas. This step is important because better understanding usually leads to better ideas. Once we have a better understanding of the problem, we can start generating ideas. At this stage, the key is to think freely and not limiting ourselves too early. Sometimes people try to find the perfect idea immediately, but this can actually reduce creativity. For example, the student might think of creating a study timetable using an app and change their study environment. Not all of these ideas will work, but they help open up different possibilities. Overall, the goal here is to explore options rather than make decisions. After generating several ideas, we then move on to evaluating them. In this stage, we can choose think more logically. Instead of focusing on creativity, we focus on practicality. We compare different ideas and consider which one is more realistic and effective. For example, starting with friends may sound helpful, but it could also be distracting. On the other hand, a structured study schedule may be easier to follow. So, this stage helps us choose an idea that can actually work in real-life situations. Next, we move on to implementation. This step is where ideas are put into action. Without implementation, even the best idea will remain only as theories. For instance, the student can try following a study schedule for a few days and observe the result. They might notice improvements in focus or productivity. This stage allows us to test whether the idea actually works in real life. Finally, we have the adjustment stage. In most situations, the first attempt is not perfect. Therefore, it is important to make improvements based on feedback and experience. For example, if the study schedule feels too tiring, the student might adjust it by adding more breaks or making it more flexible. This step shows that creative thinking is not a one-time process, but something that keeps evolving. In conclusion, creative thinking is not just about having ideas, but about developing and improving them step by step. By following this process, we can create solutions that are not only creative, but also practical and useful in real life.
Hello everyone, today I will introduce the models and technique in creative thinking. Creative thinking refers to using structured tools and approaches to generate innovative ideas. It helps us overcome mental limitations and fixed thinking patterns that often restrict our ideas. In addition, creative thinking encouraged us to look at problems from multiple perspectives and think more flexibly. These skills are widely used in learning, problem-solving, and innovation in daily life and work. Now let's look at the first two techniques. The first one is Scapper, developed by Epler. It used to improve existing products or ideas in a systematic way. Scapper included 7 strategies: substitute, combine, adapt, modify, put to another use, eliminate, and reverse. For example, we can replace materials, combine
functions or remove unnecessary parts to create something new. This method helps break thinking inertia and encourage innovation. The second technique is lateral thinking by Edward de Bono. It focuses on thinking from unconventional and indirect angles. Instead of following traditional logical steps, it challenges existing assumptions. This technique is especially useful when dealing with complex or innovative problems. Next, we have brainstorming, introduced by Alex Osborne. It's a group technique used to generate a large number of ideas. There are 4 key rules: no criticism, focus on quantity, encourage free expression, and combine ideas. This method helps improve collaboration and stimulates creativity within a team. Another important technique is mind mapping, developed by Tony Buzan. It's a visual and non-linear thinking tool. It used keywords, colors, and branches to organize ideas. Mind maps helps improve memories, organize information clearly, and strengthen ideas connections. Finally, we have the sixth thinking hat, also proposed by Edward de Bono. It's a structured parallel thinking method. It divides thinking into 6 different perspectives. White hat focuses on fact and information. Red hat represent emotions and feelings. Black hat looks at risks and problems. Yellow hat focuses on benefits and positive aspects. Green hat represent creativity and new ideas. Blue hat control and ignite the thinking process. In conclusion, creative thinking is a skill that can be developed through practice. Different techniques are suitable for different situations. By applying these tools, we can improve our innovation and problem-solving abilities.
Good day, everyone. Today, I want to talk about a very important ability, creative thinking. Many people think creative thinking is only for artists, writers, or imiters, but this is not true. Creative thinking means using our minds in new ways, coming up with fresh ideas and solving problems in smart ways. It is a necessary skill for everyone, and we can use it every single day in many different situations. It makes our life easier, our work better, and our learning more enjoyable. First, First, let's talk about the role of creative thinking in education. For students, creative thinking changes the way they learn. Instead for only memorizing textbooks or copying answers, students can think independently, ask meaningful questions, and explore new learning methods. For example, in group projects, students can create their own ways to show ideas, like making small videos, drawing posters, or acting our short plays. Teachers can also use creative thinking to design fun lessons, such as games, outdoor activities, and group discussions. When students learn creatively, they become more active and cautious. They understand knowledge deeply instead of forgetting it quickly. This not only helps them get better grades, but also builds confidence and prepares them for future changes. Next, creative thinking is extremely important at work. No matter what job we do, creative thinking can help us do better. For office workers, it can help find simply way to finish tasks and save time. For sellers, it can help create new ways to serve customers and attract more people. For managers and leaders, creative thinking helps solve team problems, make better plans, and lead the team to success. Companies that encourage creative thinking are always more competitive. They can make new products, improve service, and adapt to changes fast. Without creative thinking, work becomes boring and companies cannot grow. With creative thinking, workers feel more motivated and business become more success. Then creative thinking play a big role in our daily life. We face small problems every day, and creative thinking helps us fix them easier. For example, if we have too little time to study and do housework, we can create a small temple to manage time better. If we want to save money, we can think of creative way to resource old things instead of buying new ones. Creative thinking also improve our relationships. When we have small disagreements with friends or family, we can think in new ways to understand each other and find peaceful solutions. It makes our life more convenient, relaxed, and joyful. Finally, creative thinking is the engineer of technology and social progress. Almost all great innovation come from creative ideas. Smartphones, online learning tools, clean energy machines, and medical tools all start with creative thinking. Scientists and inventors use creative thinking to make new technologies that protect the environment, help sick people, and make life easier for everyone. For example, creative ideas lead to solar-powered, recycling machines and cheap method tour for poor areas. Creative thinking does not only change our personal life, it also makes the whole world better and more progressive. In conclusion, creative thinking is one of the most valuable skills we can have. It helps us learn better in education, work more effectively in job, live happier in daily life, and push the world forward in technology. It is not a special talent for a few people. It is a skill we can all practice and improve every day. Everyone should learn to think creatively, use creative thinking, and enjoy good changes it brings to our life. Thank you.
Okay, let's turn to my part. First, I would like to talk about the advantage of creative thinking. To begin with, creative thinking greatly improves problem-solving abilities. In real life, many problems are complex and do not have a single correct answer. By using creative thinking, individuals are able to approach problems from different perspectives and develop innovative solutions. For example, a student who uses creative thinking may find a new way to understand a difficult topic instead of just memorizing it. This is not only improve understanding, but also makes learning more interesting and effective. Secondly, creative thinking encourages innovation and growth. Innovation is an important factor in the development of society. Many successful inventions and ideas come from people who think creatively. For instance, new technology and business idea often start with creative thinking. On a personal level, it also helps individual growth by becoming more confident in sharing their ideas and more willing to try new approaches. In addition, creative thinking encourages competitiveness in today's fast-changing and competitive world. Having knowledge alone is not enough. People who can think creatively are more likely to understand the art because they can offer unquiet ideas and solutions. This is especially important in both academic settings and the workplace, where creativity is often seen as a valuable skill. Finally, creative thinking enhances flexibility in thinking. It allows individuals to adapt to new situations and change more easily. Instead of relying on fixed methods, creative thinkers are more open to change and can just understand their stage when necessary. This flexibility helps them make more better distribution, especially in uncertain or unexpected situations. Now, let's talk about disadvantage of creative thinking. Firstly, creative thinking requires time and resources. Unlike traditional ways of thinking, which may provide quick and direct answers, creative thinking often involves a process of trial and error. People may need to test different ideas, mix them, and improve their solutions. This process can take a lot of time and effort, which may not be suitable in situations where quick distribution are required. Secondly, creative ideas can sometimes be unrealistic. Well, creative encourages imagination. Not all ideas can be applied in real life situations. Some ideas may be too idealistic or difficult to achieve due to limitations, such as cost time or available resources. For example, a creative project may sound very interesting, but it may not be practical to implement in real time. Lastly, creative levels vary among individuals. Not everyone has the same ability to think creatively. Some people may naturally be more creative, while others may find it more challenging. In many cases, developing creative requires continuous practice, learning, and exposure to new experiences. This means that creativity is not allowed easy to achieve for everyone. In conclusion, creative thinking has both significant advantage and some limitations. It plays an important role in improving problem solving, encouraging innovation, and help individuals adapt to change. However, it also requires time, may lead to unrealistic ideas, and differ from person to person. Therefore, the best approach is to combine creative thinking with practical thinking so that ideas are not only innovation but also realistic and effective. Thank you.
Hello everyone and welcome to my part. We are going to explore how to develop creative thinking skills. Often we think of creativity as a magic special gift that only artists or inventors possess. But to truly cultivate creativity, we need a comprehensive, grounded approach. It requires actively shaping our daily thinking habits, accumulating a diverse wealth of knowledge, and adopting a highly practical, resilient attitude. Today, I'll walk you through 5 actionable steps to build this fundamental cognitive skill. The first step is to break free from fixed mindsets. When faced with problems, we must challenge traditional and constantly ask ourselves,
what if or why not. A perfect example happened in 2007. Two young designers, Brian Chesky and June Hevia, were facing very high rents in San Francisco. A large design conference that had booked all the local hotels. Instead of giving up, they asked themselves, why not host them ourselves? They brought Airbytes, put them in their living room, and offered breakfast. Soon after, they brought in programmer, forming a group of three. At first, they opened an Airbytes and breakfast business as a test, but it broke with traditional hospitality and eventually developed into the Airbnb we know today. The second step is extensive reading to broaden your horizons. Inspiration is built on a foundation of rich knowledge. We must explore ideas outside our own field of knowledge because connecting what look like unrelated concepts can spark profound creative thinking. Think of Steve Jobs. After dropping out of college, he attended a handwriting class. At that time, this seemed completely useless to a teach business person. However, 10 years later, it was a handwriting class that gave him a flash of inspiration, leading him to introduce beautiful fonts into the first Mac computer. This is the amazing chemistry that combining different fields produces. What's more, we must actively practice creative thinking skills. Methods such as brainstorming and the Scamper method are very effective. In the addition stage, the key is delay judgment. Freely write down all ideas without rushing to reject them. Look at the invention of sticky notes. Spender Sliver, a researcher at 3M, invented a very weak felt glue. Traditionally, it was useless, but his coworker, Asa Frey, used the use it another way technique from the Scamper model. He applied this weak glue to strips of paper to make temporary bookmarks for his singing group. A field glue was transformed into a global popular product. Furthermore, actively work together with creative individuals. Working in isolation almost never creates groundbreaking inspiration. As Edmondson and Bransby point out, the clash of ideas is crucial for breaking through personal blind spots. Why has Pictures been able to consistently create masterpieces like Toy Story and Inside Out? The secret lies in their think tank system. Even the most experienced directors must submit their early versions to a team of peers for careful and honest cross-review. It is this in extreme mixing of different perspectives that brings the work to perfection. The fifth point is perhaps the most difficult. Adopt an experimental and risk-taking attitude. Creative thinking cannot exist without the courage to fail. We must treat every mistake as a valuable learning opportunity. The birth of the Dyson Bagless vacuum cleaner was essentially a very hard stress test. James Dyson faced 5,126 failures. He didn't give up after the 100th, nor did he compromise after the 1,000th. He treated each failed prototype as a treasure trove of data. Finally, on the 5,127th attempt, he succeeded, proving that trying and failure is never a helpless wrong turn, but the only testing ground for making the ultimate product. To sum up everything we have talked about today, I want to leave you with one very important thought. Creative thinking is not just a special magic secret. It is not a hard to find gift only given to the few lucky people, and you do not need to be a born genius to have it. Instead, it is an everyday essential skill that every single one of us needs to learn. We live in a fast and complex world. Things change every day, and to deal with these changes, we must learn to think in new ways. Many people believe that creativity is just a sudden flash of light in your brain, a lucky light bubble moment that happens with no hard work. But this is simply not true. Creativity is actively a careful step-by-step journey. First, it starts with keeping an open mind. This means you are ready to listen to others, look at the world around you, and always ask questions. Next, it means coming up with many different ideas. You have to let your mind wander, even if some of those ideas sound funny or strange at first. Finally, it means taking those ideas and testing them in the real world over and over again. Yes, building this creative skill is not always easy. It takes a lot of time. It takes real effort. Most importantly, it takes the courage to fail. Nobody likes to fail, but making mistakes is a huge part of the process. Think back to the stories we looked at earlier. James Dyson failed thousands of times before he made his perfect vacuum cleaner. The founder of IBM started with nothing but earbuds in the small living room. The teams at Pictures shared their messy, unfinished work with each other to make their movies great. They all prove one big idea. Creativity is like a muscle. If you go to the gym and lift weights, your body gets stronger. If you practice thinking in new ways, your brain gets stronger. Everyone can build this muscle. You can do it by reading books outside your normal interests. You can do it by actively working together with your friends and teammates. And you can do it by looking at your mistakes not as a dead end, but as a helpful lesson for your next try. By doing all of this, we do more than just fix the problems we face today. We actually take control, step forward, and design a much better, more exciting future for ourselves. That's all for our presentation today. Thank you.